Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and salam sejahtera. Okay, my paper titled Social Mobility and its Challenges Towards Orang Asli, a conceptual paper. Introduction. Malaysian Indigenous people make up a significant portion of the country population. In Malaysia, Indigenous people make up a small minority, accounting for less than 1% of the total population. Because they rely on natural resources, they have lived in the inherited area for generations. The Malaysian government has taken various steps to enhance the Orang Asli living condition. Jakwa, for example, has launched several social development programs for the Orang Asli community to promote their well-being. Jakwa has carried out physical aid projects such as dwelling renovation, public facility construction, and infrastructures such as house, surau, and water tank. As a result, we can see Orang Asli success in sport, education, entrepreneurship, leadership, and other areas. Furthermore, Jakwa is committed to enhance its collaboration with the Ministry of Education to improve the Orang Asli community access to continuing education throughout the country. This is because education is most crucial subject in which the Orang Asli population, which is still impoverished, can make a difference. The biggest issue confronting Orang Asli community today is the high percentage of poverty. The Orang Asli community continue to be excluded from the mainstream economic development. Other difficulties affecting Orang Asli include losing and maintaining their culture and language, land ownership, and also exploitation of natural resources, political and autonomy issue, pollution, health, and discrimination. As a result, research on social mobility is required to address this issue. According to Global Social Mobility Report, countries that do not invest in the fundamental pillars of social mobility may suffer adverse effects for both their governments and the population. The negative repercussions include a weakened social fabric, a sense of loss of identity and dignity, the unpredictable of life without stable and well-paid job, declining in trust, especially in institutions, and also disillusionment with political process. Furthermore, high level of social mobility among disadvantaged groups might lead to sentiment of isolation. So this fosters distinct group to identify and split between those who are better off and those who are not. Compared to mainstream Malay, Chinese, and Indian group in Malaysia, the Orang Asli have a shallow standard of living. According to 2010 Malaysian census, the percentage of household in Orang Asli settlement area with income below the poverty line is 31.16% or 11,423 head of household. As a result, the Malaysian government has designed and implement many development policy and program, including the new economic policy, national vision policy, structured placement program, housing program, economic development program, community development project, indigenous entrepreneurship development program, infrastructure development program, and many more. In comparison to family under the current relocation scheme, the finding of a study done by Kari Masud and Yahya show that indigenous people are more likely to be poor if they dwell in environmentally sensitive and unprotected location. Their lack of primary education and job uh, make it influence their terrible economic situation. So the data also show that indigenous people has difficulty assessing and obtaining support for fundamental requirements such as housing, education, sustainable economic life, and other social infrastructure. Furthermore, the legislative structure for the watershed management and the concentration on commodity crop such as palm oil and natural rubber have indirectly contributed to the indigenous people poverty. So, in order to provide individuals with adequate education, career opportunity, and social security in the future, the Malaysian government must ensure that the country degree of social mobility remain low. In 2017, there are research conducted regarding the social culture shift and social mobility of the estuarial community in Peninsular Malaysia, East Coast. Their research is limited to the employment, education, and culture shift in estuarial community. As a result, a new research is needed to fill in the gap in the literature on indigenous people social mobility so that it can be referred to by other researchers now and future. Furthermore, future research may look at the element that affect indigenous people social mobility that have been overlooked in previous study. Introduction to indigenous people. According to Iskandar Kari, orang asli is derived from the Arabic asali, which means original, well-born, or aristocratic, while asli is derived from the Arabic asali, which means original, well-born, or aristocratic. Aboriginal people are divided into three categories or primary groups, according to Kari, Negrito, Senoi, and Proto-Malay. The Kensiu, Kinta, Jahai, Lano, Mandarin, and Batik subgroup belong to the Negrito ethnic group, whereas the Semai, Temia, Jahat, and Cik subgroup belong to the Senoi ethnic group. Temuan Semelai, Jakun, orang Kanak, orang Kuala, and orang Seletar are Mah Betis, Mah Mary subgroup, whereas Mah Betis, that is Mah Mary subgroup are temuan Semelai, Jakun, orang Kanak, orang Kuala, and orang Seletar. Each ethnic language or subgroup did not understand the other ethnic language or subgroup according to a certain author. Okay. Orang asli activity include hunting, gathering, agriculture, communities. On the other hand, their way of life has undergone significant change. Development is causing changes in the forest environment, and government policy favor agriculture and resettlement, resulting in changes in the local economy. Indigenous people also work in agriculture fields such as rubber, tea, oil palm plantation, and manufacturing. Economic, physical, and capital development and other social transformation have a wide range of positive effect on the indigenous people life. The government policy have improved the economy, religion, education, communication, and health of these minorities. Definition of social mobility. According to the Korea Development Institute, social mobility is a multi-dimensional word that refers to a person's status within a social shifting. One financial situation influences it, and one social reputation and authority. It is linked to the idea of economic mobility, which is based on earning, profit, and reach. Social mobility can also explain a situation in which an agent's relative economic status is not dictated by the baseline condition such as parental income or family history. As a result, we are looking at schooling, formal law, abilities, opportunities, and work ethics, to mention a few, as well as the drivers of an offspring income mobility concerning that of its parent. There is a study in 1992 that found that Aboriginal people prioritize and support educational to attain upward social mobility and a better living. As a result, to establish a sound educational foundation, primary school require highly skilled workers from within the culture and community. Furthermore, continuing funding for successful enabling outreach and scholarship program. According to Cunningham, it is critical to ensure that the full diversity of the minority, particularly the Aborigines, is represented in the higher education, and that opportunity for social mobility are available to all. And then we have the Global Social Mobility Index. Okay, so the Global Social Mobility Index focus on the policies, activity, and structure that collectively define the degree to which everyone in society has a reasonable opportunity to reach their full potential regardless of their economic status, parent origin, and birthplace. Moreover, the Global Social Mobility Index provides policymakers with a framework for identifying places where social mobility can be improved and fairly shared opportunity for all individuals regardless of their stage of development. Thus, the Global Social Mobility Index is relevant and can be used to identify the area of social mobility that is lacking. Okay, so these are the figure of the social mobility. Okay, so the element in social mobility, for example, like health, education, and then we have technology access, and then we have fair work opportunities, social security. Okay, so there is a need a study regarding the social mobility of orang asli, okay, because there is a changes that we can see, especially affecting their life, okay, and all of and um, a reasonable study regarding of each of these factors is needed, okay, and also by guiding by this index also can guide the research, okay, for example in terms of education access, are there any differences between current and also past generation, okay, has this contributed to the social mobility and so on, okay. Now we look at the challenges of social mobility among Indigenous people. So these challenges is more general, okay. However, it can also have the same problem that faced by the orang asli in Malaysia. Okay, so indigenous people around the world are exposed to a variety of social and economic conditions that impede their ability to exercise their human right. They are less likely to have access to education, to live in areas prone to natural catastrophe, to have insufficient or no sanitation, and to have limited access to health care, of all of which contribute to poorer productivity. Okay. In addition, based on a study by Mustafa, Omar, Hassan, Yasin, and Saleh, the variable impacting the development of orang asli youth are also complicated. The most significant suppressive element is the local leader inability to change among the orang asli youth. The local public servants such as teachers were likewise constrained in their ability to make meaningful improvement in the life of especially young people. Furthermore, indigenous people who relocate to cities confront with unique challenge. Additional problem and most notably unemployment are frequently encountered. So in metropolitan location, indigenous people may face prejudice and struggle to maintain their language, identity, and culture and teach future generation, leading to the loss of biodiversity, indigenous values, and heritage. In terms of culture, when a language become extinct, it lose its link to an indigenous tribe culture and historical heritage. Typically, indigenous culture and history are passed down to the generation through oral history and narrative. These indigenous people will lose their identity and belonging if they are not connected to their language and cultural past. Conclusion. A fresh study is needed to fill in the gap in the literature of indigenous people, social mobility, so that other scholars can refer to it now and in the future. Future research also should look at the factors that affect indigenous people's social mobility that have been missed in the past study. As a result, the factor impacting social mobility can be identified, and also the World Economic Forum Global Social Mobility Index can be used to construct the questionnaire and even the interview question for the future study. Research involving government and NGO can also be conducted to understand better complexities of implementing policy for indigenous people from their perspective. More social mobility research that focus on equality, opportunity, and creation of a just society is also needed. As a result, social mobility research can disclose the fundamental cause of social inequality by revealing pattern and trend in mobility outcome among indigenous people. As a result, future research could aid in better understanding the challenges of adopting socio-economic development program to increase the social mobility of indigenous people. Thank you.